we'll get into that. But before we get into our giants and our research, we're going to jump into our BOP, our Beer Up podcast. Today, it's from our local brewery, Mud Shark. Love Mud Shark. This is actually our Abominable Double Chocolate Imperial Stout. Great. It's a 9.6 ABV. Get a nice little crack. Ready? Oh, wow. All right. Look how dark that is. I mean, it's a stout, so I assume it was going to be dark. But yeah, it's double chocolate. It might come out. We'll watch it. Ready? Look at it. But I mean, the can design's really cool. I think another cryptid, and then again, that's why I kind of chose it.
A literal giant on there. So I mean, I have my opinions on it. Have you taken a sip yet?
I have not. I want to do it straight out of the can. I'm gonna let my head die. Oh, that's strong. I don't really taste the chocolate at all.
No, it tastes more like coffee beer.
I was about to say,
It
it's
does.
kind of like a dark chocolate.
Yeah, dark chocolate's a good one, but I agree, it does taste more like a coffee beer.
Yeah. So it's not bad.
It is an acquired taste.
Yeah. Like most beers.
Also, like most beers.
All right, so Michael, what was your background knowledge on that? Obviously, you had more background knowledge than I did, bringing up a fucking specific kind of giant.
Well, basic mythology.
That's
You
fair.
know, everyone likes Norse mythology ever since the new God of War came out.
God of War, Marvel.
Yeah.
Marvel was a big proponent for it for a lot of people. I think it's actually kind of one of the things that I noticed when I first started doing the research was, okay, their whole thing was, hey, maybe these stories aren't just stories because it was the Norse had stories about them, the ancient Native Americans had stories about them, like everybody from around the world had stories about it. So that's where it started to be like, okay, maybe there's more than just haha giants.
I mean, giants are one of those folklores that not only is it just one civilization, it's like dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody and their grandma has a story about a dragon throughout like history.
Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting. So, and it's not just culturally, it's literally like almost every single religion has a version of a giant.
Yes.
Size varies, and that's what we'll get a little bit into. But in folklore, giants, again, we talked about the Christians have them, Norse mythology, the Greeks had them as well. But they are beings that are human-like in appearance, but are a lot bigger, basically, is what this comes down to. And that varies, because when you start doing measurements depending on what resources or culture you look into, you could be a giant if you were like 6 foot.
Yeah.
Which is another big thing that we found out
Fucking
going into
giant.
research. Yeah.
Hey,
But-
you are.
Not me. But
You guys are looking for evidence. You got some right here, man. Like,
Hey,
I
you just
mean,
look like
well-
a giant because me and him are fucking short.
I
so
guess
I
that's
mean,
fair.
I mean, we will get into redheaded giants. So,
My brother's
but
redhead.
the only red part of my head is
I have red highlights, but you only see that one. So, we'll go into giants, and I'll start with my research. I did a little bit on the Bible and stuff like that, and this is going into like Christianity, but like giants are mentioned a couple times in the Bible, in Genesis and Joshua 12:4, in a couple different ways. But giants, I know, vary depending on who.
Sorry, I was getting the chat up.
Okay. Situationally. But one of the main ones is giants were created from angels who came down to earth to impregnate women and who gave birth to giants.
Yeah.
Which I think in the Bible, they're only like, I want to say when you break the measurements down from the Old Testament till now, I think the height is like
9 feet.
Is it 9 feet? I want to say it was like shorter than that. Like I don't think it was that big.
So the thing is, it was 9 feet. How much of that was exaggerated for the story? Because like, if you say, okay, maybe they.
But that's also like depending on the story in the Bible, because the measurements change, especially when you break down David and Goliath. Goliath is supposed to be this big. I think Goliath was like 7 foot something.
Yeah, and
I always took like the Goliath phrase. He was just a well-built,
I thought he
decently
was
big man.
yeah,
Not
I
just,
thought
like,
he was like
he was massive.
he was a motherfucking like man of a man who did tower above everybody else, but probably only by a few inches.
I always just imagine something like Shaquille O'Neal and Kevin Hart.
Absolutely. Shaq and The Rock had a kid like put together. Fucking massive.
So, have you guys ever been to a Staples? By the way, we got Dilly Dude in the chat. Howdy, thanks for popping in.
Yeah.
You ever been to a Staples?
Have been to a Staples.
So, I'm a short person, but I could still see above a lot of the shelves while I'm there. And it is absolutely hilarious whenever you're going through there and just you look to your left and you see a bunch of printers, and you look to your right, you see rows of shelves, and then Shaquille O'Neal is like halfway above the fucking. I don't know what they did, but he is all over that store. Shaquille O'Neal's just doing fucking side quests.
The main store thing I remember with Shaquille O'Neal is that he holds the world record for the most expensive Walmart purchase.
Yeah.
And someone broke his record, and he went to Walmart and broke theirs.
What's funny is he actually broke that record. The first time he broke it was actually in Phoenix.
That's funny.
How much did he fucking pay?
A lot.
So he got drafted to the Suns, and they set him in this apartment, and there was nothing there. So he went to Walmart at like 10 o'clock at night, bought like, I want to say like 10 different like plasma screen TVs, like a new wardrobe, shoes, furniture, like everything for this apartment.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm not waiting for my shit to show up. I'm just buying it.
And he's rich, so I mean, he just can.
So when he did that, the first, like, it took him like over an hour to pay because he tried to run his card and it declined.
Because his
they thought
bank's
it was
like,
fraud.
what the fuck?
They thought it was fraud, and he called his bank and was like, unlock my effing card.
Yeah. Fuck you. I'm going back to the apartment with my furniture. I don't care if this is fraudulent. Fuck you.
So Shaquille O'Neal is a pretty big guy. He is 7'1".
He would be considered a giant based on the measurements of, let's say, Goliath.
So what's interesting is the person who is known as the tallest person, like, recorded in history.
He had a lot of fucking physical problems because he was so tall, correct?
Yeah, it's Robert Waldlow, also known as the, what is that, Alton Giant, or the Giant of Illinois. And he clocked in at 8 foot 11 inches. So he was almost 9 feet tall. What's funny is when you go to Illinois, his hometown in Illinois, Shaq actually went there, and they have a statue of him, like, standing, and you can check your height compared to how tall he was. Shaq looks tiny compared to this man.
Really?
Tiny compared to this man.
That's 7 feet to...
Yeah.
And the thing, Shaq makes normal sized water bottles look like kids' water bottles.
Yeah, have you seen him fucking, like...
Have you seen any of the videos where he goes and gets his custom cars made?
Yes.
Like, that stuff is crazy.
I love the fucking, it's him and Kevin Hart that always talk shit to each other, right?
Him and The Rock.
Okay.
Kevin
okay.
Hart and The Rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, I mean, The Rock is a big guy, but The Rock is also very small compared to Shaq. I want to say The Rock is only like 6'5".
Yes, but he is built like a tank.
Oh, yeah.
So he would he probably would have been considered like a giant in a lot of ways compared to the average person back.
There is the tallest person alive to date. He is Turkish. He's a Turkish farmer, and he holds the Guinness World.
Thanksgiving's not till Thursday. What are you talking about?
Stop. Completely different. That was a terrible joke. But no,
Turkey is at war right now.
This guy, I'm gonna butcher his name, so I apologize. It is what is that? Sultan Kozin?
Wilson?
Wilson?
I don't know. Isn't Sultan like a title?
Sultan.
I was
Yes.
about to say in Arabia.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's in Turkey. Anyways,
I mean, it's all Europe. Fuck.
he's the tallest living male to date. He's still alive. Clocks in at 8 foot 2 inches.
That man is fucking tall.
Oh yeah, he's tall, and he's a farmer, so he's out in the field every day.
So that means that man could probably fucking like throw one of us.
Yeah. So,
Definitely.
well, I mean,
Fuck.
you also look at Andre the Giant. He was a wrestler. He was in Princess Bride, one of my favorite movies. But he clocked in at 7 foot to 7 foot 2 inches, depending. And that's weird, but in my research of him, it depends on how he was that day, because he would hunch. He had such bad back problems.
Probably because he was fucking 7 feet 2 inches.
He was in so much pain during filming of Princess Bride. They actually had to wire down. You know the scene where she jumps and lands in his arms? So they actually had to wire her down to him and not even put her full weight in his arms because that's how much pain he was in.
If I remember right, Andre the Giant's gigantism made it so that his spine was further apart.
Yeah.
And it really, really fucking hurt.
Yeah. It was.
Of course it hurt. It's your spine, but
Yes.
I was like, that's crazy. You have another current wrestler. I'm a nerd, but current wrestler. His name, you might know him as the Big Show, Paul White. He's in AEW right now. He stands at 7 feet tall as well. So it's like he's a pretty big guy. He suffers from the same gigantism that Andre does, and that's a huge issue that he talks about. However, he's a lot older than Andre was when he died. So
All right.
he's doing a little bit better, but he also is like, he's gained weight, he's lost weight, like he's in pretty good
he's
shape
been pretty
right
big. There's a reason why his name's the Big Show.
Yeah.
All right. So did you want to talk about biblical and European giants before I start getting into my shit?
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but again, like, when it comes to this, I mean, the big thing in the Bible, and I think we've talked about this off camera, but in the Bible, a lot of people argue this today, is that it's how it's translated and what you assume that they are talking about, because it goes from Hebrew, and you break it down from there, and then again, in the Bible, the height changes depending on the giant they're talking about, because they're how they scaled its
cubits. It was
cubits. Yeah,
is your from the edge of your finger till your elbow.
Yes, we talked about that during our apocalypse episode with Texas from Beer, Beans, and Bullets. So go check that one out. It's down on our YouTube channel.
That was a hell of a fucking episode.
It's a great episode. Definitely go check out Beer, Beans, and Bullets. But yeah, so in the Bible it changes a little bit, but there's the translation is from a Hebrew. I want to scroll up. Sorry,
No.
I can't even scroll up. I'm gonna mess this up. To let you know.
Okay.
He's Nephilim?
Trying to read Hebrew, right?
Yeah. This
Hebrew.
is Hebrew. Hebrew.
Hebrew what?
Hebrew what?
What about Shebrew? The Nephilim?
Nephilim?
Nephilim? Do I need to add phlegm to that? Nephilim.
That's more phlegm.
Yeah, that's Nephilim.
But these in the Jewish explanation of that is basically it's a hybrid of sons of fallen angels.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we talked about at the beginning of the episode, is we talked about, again, fallen angels coming down, taking your women, impregnating them, birth to children. I've never read the Bible. This is just me doing my skim through research of that, because there's a lot about this, and it's really fucked up. There's a lot of fucked up shit in the Bible that I just don't want to get into.
No, a lot of like religious people like myself, a lot of them are like, yo, half of this shit in the Old Testament is batshit crazy, like not fucking meant to be taken literal kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to say this is from the Bible. The Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in onto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. The same were the mighty men that were of old, the men of renown.
You know what? Giants and Nephilim were only mentioned a few times in the fucking Bible, and yet people still point to those 1 or 2 stories about giants as proof that giants existed before.
We'll look to the Bible for proof.
Yes. Believe it or not. It's like, okay.
I thought that was only on like moral problems.
No. Okay. So here's the problem: is that in the most skeptical way, the Bible is a historically based fiction. If you look at it from a very skeptical, not religious sort of standpoint, Jesus was a person who did have a huge following, and did and a lot of the stories do turn out to be true after finding.
But that doesn't mean every story is.
Exactly, especially in the Old Testament. That shit got most people, let's just say this, most religious people I know, like my dad, he doesn't believe the earth is only 6,000 years old, all right? Despite the fact that's what the Old Testament quite literally says.
Very recently have a lot of, like, my mom used to watch, like, the Christian shows and stuff. Mm-hmm. Very recently have they stopped using the idea that the earth was made in 7 days.
Yeah.
So we've kind of talked about Christianity. Let's go into like Northology. This is where our guest comes in. So let's explain.
So the Jotun in Norse mythology are the antagonists to the Aesir. So basically, the dads of the gods and the Jotun, they had their kids. A bunch of Jotun, which are the giants, and a bunch of gods that ended up eventually forming into different clans, one being the Aesir. The Aesir are most well known because Odin is the leader of the Aesir. And one day, I don't remember the giant's name. I heard this story yesterday or a couple weeks ago. But basically, Odin killed the father of all the giants and used his body with his brothers to make the earth and molded it through that and put a magical wall around the earth so that no Jotun could ever enter, because obviously they were fucking mad that you just killed their dad and used his corpse as a planet.
Yeah.
So
these Jotun were fucking huge.
yes, and they did vary on size and even appearance, because Loki was that might just be a Marvel thing. I haven't looked. He did betray the gods, and the Jotun they ranged from a bunch of different things, because Loki's kids, one being Hela, like the Marvel movie says, she looked like an almost normal woman, but with half of her face melted off, revealing a skull, because she was the goddess of death, if I remember right. And then there was his other kid, Jormungandr, which was the world serpent, a giant fucking snake. So this shit gets wild fast.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Loki does a couple crazy things. I mean,
Yeah.
he fucks his dad's horse, and like, there's a couple things.
Do you know about why Odin is called the Hanged King?
I do. It's been a while since I've heard the story, though.
In a pursuit for knowledge and gaining knowledge of, I think, a bunch of different old magics, Odin hung himself from Yggdrasil, the world tree, for like 7 days and delved into it to learn its secrets and resuscitated himself. It's something to the effect of that. I can't remember the full story.
What the fuck?
Odin was a crazy motherfucker. Mimir, who is in the newest God of War, the head that you carry around, in the old fables, Odin lost his eye because he gave it to Mimir for a drink of his pool of knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's why he has one eye.
This shit's fucking wild.
I told you guys didn't research the metal giants.
Yeah, I had no fucking idea. Hey, I had assigned.
I did assign him work.
Yes. Otherwise, I would have. I don't know. I don't even think I would have start for this shit.
Also, quick shout out. We got this subject from a coworker. I'm not even going to say his name because he needs to come onto the podcast.
Yes.
So, but it was recommended by a coworker.
I forgot this was recommended.
Yep.
Crackpot, crazy. Okay, hold on. I will wait on that. I will hold off on calling them crackpot, crazy motherfucker. So, European stories of giants. We got the Bible stories, the ones that we know. We got Jack and the Beanstalk, which I'm not sure what the origins of that.
I'm pretty sure it comes like Brother Grimm kind of stories.
Probably.
Okay.
And that's where it comes of. You guys don't know, Jack and the Beanstalk, little boy Jack, went sold his cow for beans.
His mom gets mad and says he's a worthless shit and throws the beans out the window.
No. The beanstalk grows, he climbs the beanstalk, doesn't steal shit, he thinks it's cool. Back down, goes back up. When he goes back up, the giant goes, fuck that, chases down the beanstalk. Jack goes and cuts the beanstalk falls, kills the giant. So, there's also variants of that story where it's Jack the Giant Slayer because of that.
Yeah.
Man committed a home invasion and got an award for it.
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
But it's okay because he wasn't one of our what's the name? Got it. Did I have it? No. I can't fucking remember the name. You remember how Neanderthals killed the other the other motherfuckers?
You mean like
it's not our
I know
species.
what you're talking about.
It's not our species, so it's okay to rob them.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Exactly.
So we got old stories like that did you, in your researching of these stories, did you find any validity or proof of them besides the written stories?
There is no hard proof in my research. The only proof that I could bring is the fact that we do have people with fantasism and other diseases allow the human body to grow. And again, we only have record of tallest man in the world, and he didn't live that long ago. He was born in 1918, and he lived in 1940. And again, this is why I said it wasn't that long ago, because he was born in America.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you we've only recently in history started recording giganticism.
Yeah.
So it is possible that these people lived out
Mm-hmm.
in the world, and it's possible that giants lived in places like caves or the woods because they were forced out of society. A reference to this, and a reference to Robert as well, is if anybody has ever seen the movie Big Fish.
No.
Tim Burton film. It's also a musical. Great musical.
A musical. Oh.
Here we go. It was a movie first. However, I also want to say it was a book before a movie. But anyways, the whole point of the movie is that the grandfather's dying, and he's always told his kid lies. And while his kid's like trying to prep for his death and all this stuff, he goes and tries to hunt down these stories to find out how true they were. And they were always like stories that were very stretched out, like far from the
embellished.
truth. Like he runs into a giant in his like time traveling or whatever, and he always told his kid this giant was like 10 feet tall, but really he doesn't say it by name, but it's Robert. And it's still a very tall person.
But he's
it would go from like 10 feet to 20 feet. It was a giant.
Fishing stories, as it were.
Yes, and that was also a big point of Big Fish, is that he told him when he dies, he needs to put him in the water because I'm going to turn into a big fish.
Oh, okay. Did he?
Yes, or at least in the story that his son told him as he was dying.
Oh, okay.
He was like, this is how you're dying, and this is what's going to happen to you. And it was a peaceful like.
Okay.
But it's a great movie. Recommend watching it. But that's where I kind of draw that from as well, is that in that story, he meets the giant because the giant was living outside of the town in a cave, and people in the village were like, there's a giant terrorizing the town, but he was just trying to get food because people didn't like him. So he befriends this giant.
So we've got a couple of Native American stories of. So Europeans, whenever they first came over, there was a few reports of giant natives, and the reason being, I think I talked about this earlier, is these Native Americans had lived in this area for a while. You know, they had plentiful food storage, so they were getting constantly good food. So they probably grew up to be pretty damn big and strong in these areas. This is back before the Europeans all starved them.
Yes.
Anyways, so whenever they would do a welcoming party, it'd be like, hey, there's Europeans here. We need warriors and food to show peace, but also show that we can beat the fuck out of them. So the first people that these Europeans would meet out of the tribes would be some big ass mofos. So their first reaction is, this is a tribe full of giants. This is a giant tribe. And now, granted, 6.5 feet versus the average European of what being like 5'5" or something like that.
Yeah.
That's gonna kind of fucking skew your opinion on that.
Fucking man.
Manlids, bro. Manlids, and that's coming from me. That's short.
You're a pocket prince. It's all right.
So there's a couple of Native American stories before the Europeans arrived of the giants. Now, one of them, I'm gonna recite this one from memory the best I can. There was this one giant that was. It doesn't say exactly how tall it was, but he would grab multiple women at once. I'm saying like literally like his hand would be enough to like wrap around a one woman by him just with the one hand.
Really grabbing that pussy. Like that man to the office.
Report that man to HR.
Anyways,
come on, it was so funny.
So they would move their tribe away from the giant. So the giant would attack, and they would move, and they would have peace for a while, and eventually the giant would catch up to them, and he would steal some more women, and then eat them and run away again.
Those women?
Huh?
Those women?
Yes.
That he did.
So one of the times, the younger kids asked his father, he goes, Dad, why can't we do anything about this? The giant can't be killed. It's way beyond us in order to be able to do. And so him and his friends said, "Fuck you, we're going out there to kill him." So what they did is after tracking the giant, which was not very hard, as they said he was in all ways a mountain of a man, and they tracked him and they dug a ditch for him to fall into, and they covered it. And one of the kids ran across the thing because he was so light. He was able to run across the hole without falling in. The giant fell in, and they pushed all the dirt on there, and they were able to suffocate and kill him. Basically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's buried him the fuck alive.
You know what? As you were talking about this, I completely forgot another American story about a giant.
Okay.
Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan.
True.
Why did we not think about Paul Bunyan when we were doing our research?
I don't know. Not once.
It was like Paul Bunyan and what is this, Ox Baby Blue?
I don't know. I don't know much about Paul Bunyan besides the name.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Same.
I was just thinking about Paul Bunyan right now because you talked about that and the stories of Paul Bunyan making the Grand Canyon as well as him dragging his giant axe across the Grand.
That's a big guy.
Yeah.
That's a big motherfucker.
He also-
Norse giant.
Yeah. He also walked around with an ox that was like size to him.
So, he was able to look across the oceans with how tall he was then.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. So anyways, there's another story, and this one has an actual, like, place where it took place.
So where is that place?
Lovelock Cave, Nevada.
Oh, so it's like probably by Reno. Like
I don't-
it's North Nevada, yeah?
I know that there is a town called Lovelock, and this is a cave nearby.
Yes. I could tell you that I did look up how far it is from our bunker to there. It is a 10-hour drive.
No.
I think we have the time for that.
Get the camera.
All right. Get the camera.
Get the
Get
camera.
the camera. We're going right now. We're going in the Jeep. Doors off, top off. Let's go.
No, it is too damn cold.
I think
We're going
can,
north.
I think we can make it there and back before work tomorrow.
20 hours. Let's see. I'm doing the math. No.
That attitude.
Get the flux capacity.
We've got work in 13 hours. Although I do be kind of a lead foot. I was driving 100 the whole way to Vegas.
Yeah.
That was pretty great.
Allegedly.
Allegedly driving 100 the entire time. Anyways, so Lovelock Cave is a cave in the basin of Nevada desert known as a treasure trove for ancient Native American artifacts, drawings, and remains. This legend that was passed down by the Paiute. The Paiute tribe were at war with giants ranging in height from 6 feet to 10 feet. So well within the realm of possibility. Okay. And they did say that this was a very, very old story. Long before the white man came. So.
Or
yeah.
So what's going on? You're laughing?
No, I was driving 100 miles.
Oh,
Camilla put a,
okay.
she's in the chat.
So these giants they were at war with had very distinctive red hair, and they would eat any of the Paiute Native Americans they were able to kill in battle. But the Paiute were greater in numbers and in technology, and because of that, they were able to push back the Sitaka into Lovelock Cave. The Paiute warriors told them to come out of the cave or die in there. When the giants refused to leave, a hail of fiery arrows entered the mouth of the cave, spreading smoke and flames into the cave. Some giants ran out, but the Paiutes had already given them their time for mercy, and that was long overdue. So they struck them down with even more arrows, and they waited until they were sure the giants had either burned to death or were all asphyxiated inside the cave. In 1911, miners found the remains of Native American and their pottery inside that cave while getting, I think it's bat shit.
Guano?
Yeah, guano. Which I guess is a useful thing for making gunpowder. Was not aware of that. That's just like a
That's how we
side.
got COVID. I'm not messing with that. I don't mess with bats anymore.
I was too busy. I don't think anybody fucks with bats anymore. Fuck you, bats. Anyways.
Thanks a lot, Batman.
Where was Mothman?
But we don't need to bring up Mothman again.
And, okay, so in 1911, the miners found remains of Native Americans and their pottery and other artifacts, and were said to find bones. These bones were said to be a 7'11" person, as well as a 7', no, and an 8'5" person. Two very tall people. So that is our story here. That's the end of our notes coming up.
That's really interesting because, like, I've been to Nevada and I don't see those tall people.
No, everybody there's short.
Everyone there.
That's coming from me.
When I heard it was redheads and like people, and I'm like, it's possible that it could have been Norse Vikings showed up to North America before Europeans, and I heard cannibals, and I'm just like, man, I don't know if Vikings would do that. And then I remembered the pagan religion exists. I'm like,
Yeah.
they might do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, even Lovelock, we were watching a documentary a little bit ago about how that whole area was basically in water.
Documentary.
True.
Documentary. who can really say?
It was a random British guy.
It was a random British guy. We just assumed that it was facts.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you speak in a British accent, you obviously know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. The only problems with with this story about the miners, by the way, is those we have the pottery. It is known now as a treasure trove of Native American pottery and remains and stuff like that. But those supposed giant bones, I can't find any record of it. Everybody that's mentioned those bones and those remains has said it as though it's as a matter of fact.
And they're nowhere to be.
They're nowhere to be found, and there's nobody actually cited for this.
So, are we going to go and
Source,
talk
bro,
about
I got it.
our conspiracy about the Smithsonian?
So that's actually right up ahead.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and finish the other. Okay. No, I already talked about the height of Native American warriors whenever they first met the Europeans.
Yep.
And ancient. There have been supposed burial mass graves of 8 to 10 foot humans, but like with many of the other giant remains that are supposedly found, there's not really much of a record of it. So let's get into these conspiracy theories that we got going on. So, according to the American Institution of Alternative Archaeology, yes, Supreme Court was forced the Smithsonian to declassify files stating that 10,000 giant bodies from North America had been found, burned, and destroyed.
And has classified information.
Yes.
Yes, because that goes
It's
against...
new to me.
Because giants would go against evolution. Therefore, they can't allow it to exist.
Hooray! Religion beats science once again by burning the evidence.
Exactly. So, no, actually, it was the people who say this say that the Smithsonian didn't want to admit that their evolution theory was wrong, so they burnt all the evidence saying to the contrary. We'll get into that conspiracy theory and why that's fucking
Weird.
batshit crazy dumb in a moment. But first, we're going to talk about a couple of the other theories. One of them being that, kind of tying into this one, is that giants are still here. They're not necessarily living among us. They're living below us in secret government facilities. And they are actually plotting to take over the world. And they are, like you said before, spawns of demons. And they're trying to corrupt everybody, which is why they're in charge of the government, trying to corrupt everybody. And once they feel like God is no longer with us on Earth, they are going to take over. What's your other conspiracy theories you've got here?
So I have a couple. These are far-fetched, but this is conspiracy theories that go around the world. We'll start in Egypt. Are you familiar with the pyramids?
No.
So,
A
no.
conspiracy theory.
There's some pyramids that are in Egypt. There's a lot of conspiracy theories around them. There's aliens. It was giants. They believe that giants were the ones that built the pyramids. And
did they forget slave labor was a thing?
yes, and that's the other thing. Is that they were like, oh, slaves couldn't. And people argue this to today that they're like, there's no way slaves could build those pyramids. And I go, that's funny because you know who we don't argue built the pyramids? Mexicans. There's pyramids down in Mexico, and nobody questions it.
Yeah, no, it is.
That's Mayan stuff.
Yeah.
The Mayan temples.
The Mayan temples, but nobody questions it. They go, yeah, the Mayans built those pyramids, but no way could Egyptians build pyramids.
It's like as cool as it is to theorize about these ancient aliens, it's also like that's mildly racist, isn't it? Just that you don't think they were sophisticated enough to know how to get the most out of their slave labor.
Not only that, aren't there like videos of like 10 people flipping like 1-ton cars to get them off of people?
Yes.
You're getting beat within an inch of your life, you're gonna move the fucking stone block.
Yes. Yes. And especially like we're finding out ways that like they had like contraptions that were meant to move these rocks with ease.
Yeah. So you get and you get into those.
Oh, in El Salvador they have giant sacrificial temples too. And nobody questions that. It's like, no, aliens didn't build those, but aliens definitely built each.
You know why they don't question it is because they're like Mexicans. Those are hard workers. If they can plant some bushes in my front yard, they can easily build me a temple.
To be fair though, Hispanics at least around here, they do be fucking working their ass off in the middle of the heat.
Right. Other conspiracy theories I'm going to jump again from around the world is, do you know Easter Island?
Oh yeah.
No.
So Easter Island, if you guys do not know, and I want to do a whole episode on Easter Island alone because it is still very fascinating and we don't have we still don't have answers for a lot of things about Easter Island, but Easter Island has these big statues that are made out of lava rock that all face basically inward of this island, and they range from like 12 feet to like 50 feet tall.
And the crazy thing is everybody sees the Easter Island faces, right? What a lot of people don't realize is a lot of those actually go like deep into the ground. Well, they have full bodies.
We still have, I believe there's one or two that are still in the earth where they were cutting it out and stopped. So people assume that it could be there was a civilization there, but how did they have that kind of technology? Not only to cut through that thick of a rock, but to move it and then turn it and like dig it and place it. Others say that it was giants that lived there that were able to move and arrange those rocks. So
get out of a rock with a hammer.
Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, it is a hard stone, so it'd be hard to cut, but hard also sometimes means brittle, so it'll break easier too. And if you
if you had the technology to cut stones, wouldn't you use that technology to build boats? Because
maybe they did.
Island's not really inhabitable. Like,
what if they built boats and that made the volcano man angry?
Or no, they weren't actually natives of that island. That was just something they kind of like did.
It was a prank.
Yes, they just it was like, hey, it'd be fun. Let's go out to the Statue Island and go build a statue. You know, everybody like that's got to be like becoming a man. You have to go out to that island where everybody else built their statue, and you have to go build your statue. Like, we don't fucking know. There's no answers for that right now. Or at least base level knowledge. I haven't done any. So.
Again, I was looking for conspiracy theories about giants because there's a lot of different things. We don't really have hard proof. And there was this one that I found that was so batshit crazy that I really wanted to share it with you, but I wanted to wait for the podcast because I want your reaction. Because it is so stupid. To the point, you can go, that is not true, period, because we have record of it being contrary.
Okay. Is it crazier than giants are in government buildings controlling the U.S. government to overthrow humanity?
It lines up with it.
With that one, I don't know why people gotta make up such weird conspiracies about the politicians being bad or evil. They do it enough themselves.
They don't need giant overlords to tell them to be bad. They're just bad.
Okay.
So this conspiracy kind of lines up with the whole government thing. Is that the government paid giants to make Mount Rushmore?
No. No.
It's a massive cover-up.
It's a massive cover-up. And I was literally going through chat rooms and these blogs.
There were
and
protests while they were making Mount Rushmore.
Giants.
We have pictures.
Cover-up, fake news.
They used Photoshop.
They didn't have Photoshop.
How do you know? Were you there?
I don't know what you're talking about. We have a photo of the first camera. So what the fuck did that take a picture of?
A mirror.
No. I always question that too. Like I was like, this seems weird because that or they're not marked properly. But it's like, here's the picture of them constructing the first camera, and I go,
Hold up.
Hold up.
Fake like the moon
Like
landing,
the moon
you're
landing,
right.
exactly.
I want to do a whole thing about the moon landing because it pisses me off
Yeah,
to no extent.
yeah. And it's those things that's like, what a fucking slap in the face of the people that actually like put their blood, sweat, and tears and dedicated their lives to this shit. You're just like, no, fake,
Fake news.
fake.
But I really thought it was funny that this thing was like, oh no, Giants made Mount Rushmore, and I go, but what on earth would Giants need money for? U.S. money, by the way.
Yeah.
We're not
Or
allowed to know that they exist.
I just, but that's also another theory of
How big-
because behind Mount Rushmore there was supposed to be a whole museum, and that's why there's a door behind the heads of Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Part of this is that that's where the Giants are. They are inside Mount Rushmore
Okay, but why?
because that's where they live. I wish you could see what his hands are doing right now. He is so upset. But this is why I didn't send it to him immediately, because I wanted this reaction.
Why? What? Okay, but why? Why did they pay these giants? How big are these giants that they can fit through that door? By the way, that piece, that human-sized door.
But part of the reason for the door being that small so they don't get out is that this was a...
So they're trapped in
So
there.
this, again, like... I didn't write it down because I didn't want you to see it, and I should have written it down so I had a little bit more information for you. But part of it is the reason that the door is so small is so they don't get out because the government didn't want giants around anymore. Basically, they tricked the giants into slave labor and was like, guess what? We're trapping you inside.
So they
And they are now inside a government bunker underneath Mount Rushmore.
So they paid the giants to build their own prison, is what you're telling me.
Yep.
And what reason did the giants have? How big were the giants that they were so useful at helping to create Mount Rushmore, but also not too big where everybody would notice them and say something?
So my main, when it comes to conspiracies and like people believing them, one of the big questions you gotta ask is, what the fuck does the government gain if this is true?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the government gaining anything by hiding giants. It's like people who think the Earth is flat. What the fuck does the government get out of concealing the shape of the Earth?
Not only our government, all governments.
Yes.
Every government, including like the most hostile governments in the world to us. Why would they go along with that facade?
We're going to bring this up more when we get into the moon landing because it upsets me to no end that people are like, the moon landing's fake. And I go, why would the USSR ever be like, you know what, America won?
True.
Yeah.
In anything!
Yeah.
Dude, you know what I can't believe the French flag is on the moon. Because the American flag's been up there
Man,
for so long.
they retreated so far, didn't they?
Well, the American flag's been up there for so long.
World War II, bitches.
Sorry.
The American flag's been up there for so long and has most likely gotten sun bleached by UV rays, so it is completely white now. So I can't believe the French flag is up there, dude.
Yeah. That's why he said they retreated so far, all the way from the moon back to their shitty ass.
Yeah, but again,
Sorry for the rant
there's,
about the French.
No, that's okay.
there's
Fuck
so
Europeans.
many weird conspiracies out there, and that was just one of them. And when you brought up government and hiding giants, that's what popped in my head, and I go, I can't wait to see your reaction to this because it's those theories that get me, and I go, oh, these are so stupid. These are my favorite.
So-
I hold them near and dear to my heart.
So it's like I like researching conspiracy theories because usually there's some semblance of truth that I'm like, okay, I don't think that's true, but that's a really cool theory. I can see why somebody might think that's true. Giants is not one of them.
Well, like,
At least the conspiracy theories.
don't have any hard proof of giants.
No, none. Like whatsoever. Like
Like, there's a couple, every now and then, and every couple years, because I literally, like, in my lifetime, I've seen 3 different articles where they go, we found a giant in, like, South America, or we found giants over here in Egypt. And nobody knows what happens to the body after these reports are made.
That's because it was found out to be a hoax. Almost every time.
Immediately, and I go, what the point of this if you don't have proof?
Yeah, so You remember how I
I
said
made it the fuck up.
Also,
So you're gonna love this.
and also, in all fairness, when we first discovered dinosaurs, the first instinct for everybody was we found giants.
That's fair.
But also, like, imagine finding like a dinosaur femur and being like, this was a very tall man.
This is a big motherfucker. Was this a giant elephant? What the fuck? So, the Smithsonian cover-up, okay? The 10,000 giant bodies destroyed. It was a hoax by World News Daily Report. With this website is satirical, and the slogan whenever you open up their website is where the facts don't matter.
Oh, so it's basically like
So-
whose line is anyways, where the points don't matter.
The game's made up and the points
Don't
don't
matter.
matter.
Quite literally, everybody that talks about Smithsonian covering up 10,000 giant bodies, they quote either these people or the American Institute of Alternative Archaeologists, which, by the way, that institution doesn't exist.
Love that.
It was made up for that article.
I love that.
The only quote from these people is in this World Daily News report.
I love that. So my
My
other thing
sources, I
with
made
this
it the fuck
conspiracy
up.
theory.
Exactly. My sources, I made it the fuck up.
Wait, my other thing with this conspiracy theory, and what I think is weird about this, is the fact that the Smithsonian makes money yearly based on attendance.
Yes.
That's their revenue, yeah? Why would they not show you a giant human skull or like a giant human? Because I don't know about you, but if someone was like, I have a giant human skeleton, I would be very interested in at least go and see it once. Mm-hmm. That seems like an attraction.
Yes.
Why?
And
Why would they ever want to burn that?
Oh,
that is
because-
burning money.
Because that contradicts evolution. Like, no, the fuck it doesn't. No, it doesn't. In the Native American story, we fucking killed the giants. Apparently, humans killed the giants.
Yeah.
In the Native American story.
There's also, and that's just one, and that's just a Western Native American story about killing giants. This goes, like, almost every single tribe in the U.S. has stories about killing giants, or tribes will have stories about other tribes dying fighting giants.
Yes, and it's crazy because it's like, it's possible that there were a small amount of a race of humans way the fuck back when that adapted to be taller for whatever reason and quickly fucking died.
It is possible, because again, when you look different, shit happens.
Yes.
And I mean, that's, you go down like the Amazon and you get those tribes that they do grow
Huge.
huge. They're like, on average, I want to say they're like 6'1".
Average.
Average. They are huge individuals. And
Yep.
like, I believe they're one of like 3 tribes that, like, I think all governments agreed not to like approach.
Just don't fuck with them, yeah.
And they just live out in the wild.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool.
It's them, that one island where,
Oh, I know what you're talking. Yeah.
do you remember that one island, this guy was,
About the Rockefeller guy who got eaten.
no. Was it, somebody, so this cargo ship accidentally ran ashore near the island. And so he's on the phone with people. He's like on the radio saying like, I need you guys' help. I need to get the fuck out of here. I can see the natives over there. They're getting rafts out from the forest and they're heading my direction. And as the helicopter was getting there, they were shooting arrows at the helicopter. And these motherfuckers were literally tearing the steel plating off of the cargo container while the helicopter
Damn.
left. National Geographic, a guy from National Geographic, tried to go say hi.
Died.
I think he did die on video.
I mean, that's happened to, what's his face, the one Rockefeller guy. He went out there and they have, like, his last picture of him is him with the tribe hours before they ate him.
They were hospital.
Well, yeah, you can't.
If
You're
you
meat.
get stressed, you're not
Exactly.
tender.
Exactly. That's why a good butcher doesn't stress.
Supposedly, she said.
He got eaten supposedly. So we're not 100% sure. See what I mean about her not being here for the one she knows more about? It's always the case. Always the case.
Always the case.
But that's all right. We'll fix that later. So what was it? So we I'm not even gonna entertain the one about giants being government overlords. Like,
Dude, I feel like the Norse mythology shit is more believable than that.
yes.
And like, so with I was gonna say this when you were talking about the native stories of fighting and killing giants. In the Norse stories, supposedly the giants get the last laugh because they're the reason why the world ends. And you know, Thor's not happy about that because I don't know if you guys know, but Thor really likes killing giants.
Yeah.
There was one that stole Mjolnir from him in the night, and he said he would give Mjolnir to whoever brought him Freya's hand in marriage. Freya was the wife of Odin.
Yes.
I don't think she was Thor's mother, but I know she was Balder the Beautiful mother. And Thor really wanted his hammer back. He also wanted to fucking murder the guy that took his hammer.
Yes.
So he went to Loki because Loki has magic powers and stuff, and he can shapeshift. It's like, can you help me get my hammer back? And Loki's like, all right, I have the perfect scheme. We're gonna dress you up like Freya, and I'll be your handmaiden, and we will go to the wedding. They go, and they have a feast before. Thor eats like 90% of the table, and the giant's like, wait, hold on. You eat a lot for like a woman, and Loki's like, oh, she's been so smitten with you that she hasn't eaten for the past 9 days, so she's very hungry. He believed it. And
Quick thinker, quick thinking.
It was a bunch of stuff like that of red flags. I can't remember all of them. And it gets to like the marriage thing where they go up and they get married in the Norse way. And he presents Thor, dressed as Freya, Mjolnir. And he takes Mjolnir and is basically like, finally, I'm done with this bull crap, and murders every Jotun at the wedding.
Sounds about right.
I love that. Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah. And
Come on, Marvel. That's the kind of movie we need.
That's
with
like Get Help but better.
With Thor too. Thor holds grudges super bad. Thor and Jormungandr hate each other because they're fated to fight, and Jormungandr's fated to kill Thor in Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Because he'll bite Thor. I think Thor kills him, but he succumbs to Jormungandr's poison.
All right.
Yeah. So it's some shit that literally hasn't even happened.
And
they beef over it.
They beef over it. That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, but there's also like, there's a theory that I heard that Norse mythology is actually connected to every single other religion. It's a whole
It's
thing
entirely
about
possible paganism.
Yeah,
I've
but that's the theory of like after Ragnarok, there is one god that survives. It's
Oh, so like it links all of them.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I can't think of his name. There's one god that survives, and they go, he becomes god, and they're like, well, if one god survived, you know what other god possibly could have survived, if any, would have been Loki, the trickster of. So they're like, Loki becomes the devil. I can't think of his name. Becomes god. And they basically go back and forth, and they basically make connections throughout like Christianity and Judaism. And like, I remember watching this whole, like, it was like an hour-long video where they just draw pinpoints where they go, look, this is the similarities that prove that Lucifer could technically be Loki. And like, they made all these connections, and I go, all right, that kind of seems really
That's
cool.
cool. That's
but
cool.
also, like, imagine a new religion just basically being a fandom of just
Stitching them
being
all
like,
together.
I believe in all of them.
Well, like, I wonder if that means they take the Norse interpretation of how humans were made. Because in the Norse interpretations, Odin and his brother made a bunch of people out of sticks and hay and gave them life. And then his other brother fucked the shit out of them and made everybody else.
Yeah.
Fair. No, I think it's better than the Greek ones who said like they were like literally like molded from clay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, but again, like, it's very interesting to see that. And again, the similarities of stories. Everybody has giants. Everybody has dragons.
Yep.
But I love that connection to everything. Do you have any more conspiracy theories or any other stories about giants before we end this?
I don't have anything. I really want to just say that like possibility of some giants existing in the past. Give like a 4 out of 10, 4 or 5.
All right, believability of giants.
I think around anywhere that isn't Norway. Generally, I'd believe that because people used to be smaller, things get exaggerated, like big fish stories like you were talking about. I can see old warriors telling their kids about that and being like, I need to look cool, or I honestly don't remember how
And that's
big
a
it
great
is.
point. Actually, we didn't talk about that at all. Is that makes complete sense when you're telling a story, especially
To your
an
kids.
older story of telling your kids, if you lost a fight, doesn't it sound a lot better that I lost a fight to this 7 foot tall
humongous
guy?
dude.
Yeah.
And they're like, this guy may have been like a foot taller than you, but whenever you retell the story, you're gonna say he was 2 feet taller than you.
And then
Exactly. And then that gets passed down. It's the game of telephone where it just gets bigger and bigger.
So like I think it's fairly believable, and when you get to like the Norse religion, able to read, don't think the world is a giant.
Possibly.
Yo, the flat Earth ice wall is Jormungandr. That's why the water doesn't fall off the dinner plate. Sorry.
The dinner plates.
If you guys do a podcast about flat Earth, I'll join for that. But
No, did you hear that
out.
flat Earth is like people were asking questions about why things work differently in Australia to flat earthers, and flat earthers are like, Australia doesn't exist.
That is also the other huge conspiracy
They-
theory of flat Earth is that they go, Australia's not real.
They don't think gravity exists, man. They think the Earth is perpetually falling up, and that's why we come back into ground. Like,
No.
you guys should just do a podcast about flat Earth sometimes, because you
Oh,
sometimes because
well,
you wanted to.
it's very interesting.
I love that one
But-
flat earther that's actually that lived only a few hours away, who fucking died because he built a rocket ship
Yeah.
to go up and try and see.
Himself up, yeah.
Yeah.
But my believability on Giants, and we're jumping back into this. But
Yeah.
my believability on Giants is, I think, believability, I'd probably say about a 4. And I think it is possible that there were larger than life humans. Examples, again,
Or
Shaquille
Neanderthals.
O'Neal, Yao Ming, people like that. Like, I think possible to be very tall. I don't believe being 20, 30 feet tall.
Oh God, no.
Giants were real.
No. And it's like, I can see another race of human like Neanderthals and whatever the hell the other races were at the time.
Homo sapien.
Homo sapiens, that's the words I was looking for. Maybe they had a taller average height of like 7 feet, and we just came out on top because big brain and endurance. And that's, I can believe that. I can say I can see that as a possibility. Why are there not more bodies being found? Why aren't there any bodies being found except for like 1 or 2 7
Hear
feet?
me out. Giants were also built with the ability to fly, and because of that, their bones were hollow. So they don't leave skeletons.
So,
That's my new conspiracy theory. We're gonna spread it. This is facts now. Everyone go onto Reddit, start a whole thread.
Go on to Reddit. I just gained 40 pounds when you said that.
well, you did put the American. It's more believable than the American Institute of Alternative Archaeology. So I mean,
All I'm saying is I think that's the new conspiracy theory that we need to spread
Say
around.
it's from the
is
American Institute of Alternative
Exactly.
Archaeology.
what are they gonna do? Find us? They don't exist.
All I'm saying
Allegedly.
is that
Allegedly.
maybe giants could fly. And if that was the case, similar to birds, they have hollow bones, which then means they don't leave skeletons. They're very
You see-
fragile, they break down.
I can't argue with maybe giants could fly. Like I can't argue that maybe unicorns could fly because they
Here-
don't exist.
I was about to say, I can argue with that.
Hear me out. You can't diss this theory that I just made up on the spot for the fact that I just thought of. There's a song to prove that I am right. You want to know what the song is?
What?
One-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater.
Going on?
It lines up with everything that we were saying. The Native Americans said they were cannibals, they were eating people.
They were not one-eyed.
One-eyed, one-horned,
They-
flying purple people eater.
It was not purple. It was red hair, and it was not one eye or one horn.
Who knows?
You literally left
Stories
out
get-
flying, too, by the way. It's
Yeah.
not flying.
No. We can't rule out not flying.
Can't rule
they
out
possibly could have been flying.
Yeah, they had like web
How else do you
wings.
think they ended up from the Americas to Egypt?
So, did they have wings?
No, they just upped in
Like Superman flying?
What?
Yeah.
How did they get between the continents? Do you not remember the land bridges that allowed humans to move between the
No,
continents?
they flew.
Humans flew too?
No. They had to
say
walk.
something- I was about to say something real gross.
Just giants.
Oh, shout out to Joe Rogan, by the way.
Yeah, shout out Joe Rogan.
He knows
you know
why.
what for.
He knows why.
We'll call you when we do an aliens episode.
Hell yeah. Anything else we need to add to this fucking crack?
The
Dumpster
only other
fire.
thing that I need to add before we officially end this podcast is remember to go like and follow us on YouTube. And where you can find podcasts, you could probably find us, the Bunker Buddies podcast. We have a Instagram, and you really need to get a hold of us. We have a Gmail.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan, you know what's
it's
up.
the Bunker Buddies podcast at gmail.com. So if you need to send us anything, get a hold of us, hit us up.
Please do not
through
send
our
us
Gmail.
giant Rule 30.
We only want sexy cryptids. If you have any sexy cryptids, send it our way. They're for Brandon Spank Bank.
I was about to say, you sure you shouldn't put in your personal email for that?
No.
I know you like the Mothman.
No, he told them to send it to the Blackout_Brannon Instagram page last time.
Yeah, BlackoutBrannon at gmail.com.
Swear to God, if I didn't get any Mothman stuff, so I'm
sorry. I'm gonna create spam accounts just to start sending you stuff, just to prove the fact that I should have pull over what people said did.
No.
Yeah.
I do.
If you like the podcast, please send in pictures of sexy Mothman,
We'll find you.
and he will thank you.
No, I will be very sad. I will give you a thumbs down and disapproval.
You know what I just thought of? You know what's going on right now? It's the last day of it. CryptidCon.
And we're not there because...
And we're not there because I think it was like Pennsylvania on the East Coast. We're on the West Coast.
Dude, could have given my sister a camera and had her report live.
Right?
This just in. Why is it dark
There's a
over
bunch
there?
of sweaty people out here.
Damn straight. Why
It's
is
like Comic-Con, but more sad.
Damn.
why does that Bigfoot have fishnet on? Oh God! Oh no, he's pulled his thing out. Oh no!
So it's like Comic-Con with furries, but with cryptids.
That's awful.
Cryptid furries. Is that a thing? Let me know. Please send it out to
personas and chupacabra.
if you have any of that, please send it to BlackoutBrannon on Instagram.
Did you just say somebody's fucking persona is
the chupacabra.
the chupacabra?
Oh my God, that's amazing. If you have any like cryptid furries, send them to BlackoutBrannon.
No, don't.
Please do.
Please. No.
Please do.
You already work me 50 hours a week to edit these things.
He doesn't even edit it properly. I wanted applause. I wanted certain things blacked out, and he didn't do it.
Mommy and Daddy are fighting again.
Yeah, I mean, look, I want cool things put right here, and he has not put a cool thing here yet.
I'm going to put something that's not going to make you happy. Please don't whip me again.
I want a picture of a sexy giant right here.
So like an Amazon woman.
No.
Yes, I want a picture of an
I'm
Amazon
just
woman
gonna
right here.
put giant fucking like legs of a giant like
Just legs and that's it.
because
Too big.
they're too big, so it's just gonna be. That's it.
I will climb that Amazon like the short king I am.
Dude, you gotta do this shit like Shadow of the Colossus. You know?
See, I'm not afraid to admit that I'm a short king, and I will date a giant woman. I'll be there, and I'll be like, uppies.
You just say uppies like
Yeah.
a fucking toddler.
Also,
God.
fact, giants are real because any woman taller than 5'8" is a giant.
Dude, there's a girl that I know that's 6'7".
Giant.
She married a guy that's like 6'8".
What?
Yeah, their kid's gonna be a fucking giant.
What a fucking like.
So they're just producing D1 athletes.
Basketball players, dude.
Basketball, volleyball. We're putting all the fucking D1 players out.
This podcast is a fucking mess.
Yeah, I'm sure a decent.
I mean, it's going on for a while, but I mean, thank you guys for watching.
All right.
See you guys next time. We're
Everybody's
closing
out.
out the bunker.